What is happening, fellas? We are about to rank some wide receivers. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video because I have some controversial takes you are going to want to see. You guys like the fan base videos so much that we are going to rank some wide receivers again here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the best wide receivers from each team. So I guess just top wide receiver from each team. And yes, some of them can be argued. Like I guess even Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis could be argued, and even Shakir. For the Bills, but I'm just going to take like the top at the start of the year and how kind of they perform progressively throughout the year. So yeah, let's get right into this video, baby. If you guys like this, make sure you leave a comment, like, subscribe, and if you disagree with anything, make sure you leave a comment especially. We're going to be Venmoing $50 to the top comment. So here we go, baby. Let's get into it. Alright, fellas, here we go. Let's get right into this video. We're going to start off with the Bills here. As you can see, we have Diggs, Gabe Davis, and I think that's Shakir. I don't even know. Who cares? We're going to go with Diggs here because he was slated to be the best wide receiver, the WR1 on the Bills. And it's hard to judge Diggs, man. He had a good beginning of the year, but he just fell off a cliff at the end of the year. And I know this especially well because I haven't had him in fantasy. I'm going to put him in the garbage tier just because of the sheer drop-off he had at the end of the year. I mean, I don't even think it's even controversial to even put him in garbage. It could be argued, I guess, poor, but just based off how he performed at the end of the year, I mean, the Bills really needed him as a player at the end of the year, and they relied on Josh Allen way too heavily. Someone needed to bail out Josh Allen, and Diggs just was not that guy, and when he needed to be that guy. So we're going to put Diggs in the garbage category. Tyreek Hill, man, elite. That's not even a question. Tyreek Hill is so fast. You guys saw how he played this year. Top wide receiver in fantasy football this year. Top wide receiver, period. But yeah, Tyreek Hill was an elite wide receiver this year. And it's just so it's so nice to have a wide receiver like that can draw two defenders and make other guys open. Like Waddle had a good year because of Tyreek Hill. And it even could be argued that Waddle was a WR1 in fantasy leagues this year because of the freedom he had when Tyreek Hill got doubled or just the motion they do behind the line, and Mike McDaniel is a master at that. So yeah, Tyreek Hill, we're going to put him in the elite category. And the Patriots guys here, who we got here? Demario Douglas, Juju, and I don't even know who that fucking guy is. Hold on, I got to look this up. All right, we're going to assume this is Demario Douglas. I can't get a clear headshot on him. The headshot I have does not look like this is Demario Douglas, but we're just going to assume this was Demario Douglas. We're going to put him in the garbage category there's really no good choice at Patriots wide receivers, and maybe that's why they had the season they had. They got like, what, 4 wins, 3 wins or whatever. Just Mac Jones was terrible. They couldn't figure it out on offense. Billy Zappi, who knows, man? No more Bill Belichick, obviously. They just don't have any real threats, really. And, I mean, did they really need a threat with Mac Jones throwing the ball? You know, come on. He was awful. The wide receiving core was awful. The whole offense was awful. I'm just going to assume this was Demario Douglas who had... Shut up, phone. I'm going to assume this was Demario Douglas just because of... But yeah, the Patriots guys, they were not it this year. Garbage. All right, moving on here. We have Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, I'm going to put in the average category, but I feel like he was so limited this year because of Zach Wilson and who was it? Tim Boyle or somebody that they had back up for Zach Wilson. If Aaron Rodgers plays this past year, and he should play this year, Garrett Wilson will shine. He's even good to elite category, but we're just going to have to put him in the average category just because of who he had thrown to him. I feel like it's really no fault of his own. It's really just Zach Wilson, man. The wrong Wilson. Garrett Wilson, I feel like is going to have a good year, and I feel like he's going to have a good career ahead of him. Zay Flowers, man, he really came on at the end of the year, and that's when you need to come on too. But before that reason, I'm going to put him in the average category. Now, you may disagree with that, but Zay Flowers is so explosive. He really showed what he could do towards the back half, like I just said. It's hard to see him not being WR1 next year for the Ravens. And he kind of was. He took on that role at the back half of the year, especially with the Andrews injury. He just had a few key drops throughout the regular season and kind of had some dumb decision-making plays. Like in this AFC Championship game, like he slammed his finger or his hand down on the bench, and he got like a laceration on his pinky or whatever. Like, you just can't be making those plays. But I mean, he's a rookie. He only has room to grow. And I feel like if I'm putting a rookie in the average category, I feel like that's a good sign. So, yeah, we're going to put him on the average category. All right, Jamar Chase was the WR1 for the Bengals this year. I had him in fantasy, and man, oh man, was he bad. We're going to throw him in the poor category. Just because of the start the Bengals had this year. They were like, 1-4. Joe Burrow got hurt towards the middle of the season there. And Jamar Chase was never really the same. He had like one game where he had like a 55-point game in terms of fantasy. But other than that, the dude was silent as fuck. I mean, he had repeatedly game after game where he scored like 10 fantasy points. It was like 10, 8, 12. It was just horrible. And I'm sure Bengals fans saw that production in the year too. He just wasn't a good player this year. Look for him to have a bounce back year when the Bengals are fully healthy. He's fully healthy. I know he was dealing some AC joint issues at the end of the year. But yeah, Jamar Chase, we're going to throw him in the poor category. He just did not have a good year that we're used to seeing out of Jamar Chase. Moving on here, we have Amari Cooper. We're going to put Amari Cooper in the good category. He had another 1,000-plus year for the Browns. He had a couple good games at home where he had like 100-plus yard games. But away from home, he was just not the same player. But when he was at home, he had really, really good games, arguably elite games. But we're going to put him in the good category just based off how he did on the road. If you can see here, I don't have the sign lit up, but I am a Browns fan, so this might be a bit biased. But we're going to put Amari Cooper in the good category. He had some clutch catches for the team when the game was on the line. Now, he did have some key drops. I'm not doubting that, but he did have more of those key catches than I'd say key drops, so that's why he's going to go in the good category. It could be argued that Deontay Johnson is WR1. It could be argued that George Pickens is WR1 for the Steelers, but it's hard to say, man, what their WR1 was. We're just going to go with Deontay Johnson just because of like the name. We weren't really sure at the beginning of the year what George Pickens was going to do, even though he kind of blossomed into that WR1 role. Deontay Johnson just did not have a good year. We're going to put him in the garbage category. I'm really tempted to go work in fast food, but you can't really blame him all that much. It's more so Kenny Pickett and the Steelers' offensive play call with Matt Canada. Deontay Johnson just did not have a good year. And like I said, lots to be blamed on Kenny Pickett. That's why we're not putting him in the go work in fast food, but he just did not have a good year, and I know a lot of fantasy owners saw that on their team, and so did Steelers fans as well. Deontay Johnson has so much potential. He's so quick off the ball. He likes to play the slot a lot, which is a good spot for him. But man, it's hard to see him not being the WR1 next year. I mean, you could make the argument for George Pickens, yes, but ultimately I think Deontay Johnson is WR1 for the Steelers. I think if you have a better quarterback, I think he has a better year. All right, and up next we have Nico Collins for the Texans. This guy had a really good year, man. That's why we're going to put him in the good category. Nico Collins was a solid threat for C.J. Stroud, especially when Tank Dell went down. Nico Collins had a really, really solid year. It seemed like every game he was almost catching a touchdown. He had multiple 100-yard games. And Nico Collins really, really stepped it up and kind of took the slack up for when Tank Dell went down. So, yeah, we're going to put Nico Collins in the good category. He had a fantastic year, especially I think he was a rookie this year, right? Correct me if I'm wrong if he wasn't a rookie, but I think he was a rookie. Moving on, we have Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman also had a really good year. And I'm almost tempted to put him in the elite category, but we're going to put him at the top of good. Michael Pittman had really solid games, really solid production, and especially when Anthony Richardson went down, he had Gardner Minshew thrown to him, which isn't no slouch at quarterback either, but it's not, a top quarterback thrown to him like, either Tyreek has or Jamar Chase is supposed to have. But, Michael Pittman had a really solid year for what the Colts' hands were dealt. And he had multiple games where he had 100-plus yards. And I really like him in that good spot, the top of the good spot. And I think I'll keep him there throughout the rest of the video. We'll see what the rankings are. But Michael Pittman had a really solid year. All right, Christian Kirk. Now, Christian Kirk, it's hard to judge him because, you look at the other wide receivers here, Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley. Like, I feel like Trevor Lawrence did a really good job of spreading the ball around, so not one wide receiver was really a standout. But if you had to say who was the WR1 on this team, I think everyone would agree it's Christian Kirk. That's who Trevor Lawrence is going to look to first. And I feel like Zay Jones right here could have the same effect as Zay Flowers has. But we're going to put Christian Kirk in the poor category. I mean, yeah, he had a couple of good games, but he never really broke out like a lot of these top-tier guys did. You never really heard his name much, and you could say he's underrated, but I just don't think so. I don't think. He has Trevor Lawrence thrown to him, right? Who's a good quarterback. Maybe not good, but he's decent enough at least. I just feel like Christian Kirk didn't make enough of an impact on the team as, let's say, other guys did. So that's why we're going to put him in the poor category. All right, we have D-Hop here. D-Hop had a really interesting year. He had multiple decent games, like maybe 3 or 4 decent games where he's a good wide receiver, but he just had far too many bad games for my liking. So we're going to put him in the second spot of the poor category. He just didn't have a D-Hop sort of year, and I get, Will Levis had a decent year-ish, not really, probably, but you still got to produce if you're that far in the league as a veteran, and I feel like D-Hop just did not produce at all. So, we're going to put him in the poor category. Sorry, D-Hop. All right, this is what you guys were all waiting for. Jerry Jeudy, go work in fast food. He was the WR1 coming for the Broncos wide receiving core this year, but Jerry Jeudy just did not have a good year at all. He was awful. He talked all this big smack that he was going to be like the best wide receiver in the league, and he was going to be the next coming of Christ, and he just was terrible. We're going to put him in go work in fast food. The emergence of Courtland Sutton was really, really solid too, and I feel like he's taken the WR1 role of this team and kind of pushed Jerry Jeudy to the backseat. And I don't know what happened with Jerry Jeudy, man. He was so good starting out, but now he's just terrible. So we're gonna put him in the go work in fast food category. Kadarius Toney picture here always cracks me up. I think that's him. All right, we're just gonna use him as a placeholder because they don't have Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice we're going to put him in average this year, but kind of at the back of the pack. He was a solid option for Mahomes, and he did produce, but he's not like a Tyreek Hill level that, Mahomes is used to having. Or he's not like a Travis Kelce type level where he has an impact. So for those watching, this is Rashee Rice, not Kadarius Toney, because they don't have Rashee Rice here, but we're putting Rashee Rice in the average category. All right, if you guys enjoyed that video, we're going to make a part 2. This is going to release on probably Friday, Saturday of this week. So make sure you stay tuned for part 2. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. We have a bunch of other wide receivers we're going to get to. But, that's the end of this video. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.